one of you regarding how do you do these direct and inverse proportion type questions which come up in the maintenance from time to time. And I feel like there are a number of people who are struggling with this, so I thought it might be useful for me to do a video. I've also sent you a PDF file with some past exam questions that deal with both direct proportion and inverse proportion, so you can have a bit of a practice at these perhaps before watching the video, because the video will actually deal in some of those questions. Alright, so first of all let's get down to some definitions. What do we mean by direct proportion? Well, direct proportion is where as one variable increases, so the other variable increases, and you're going to get something in a graph that looks like this. An example of this might be currency transactions. So you have the New Zealand dollar and the Australian dollar, and they increase at the same rate, so that let's say 1 Australian dollar equals 1.5 New Zealand dollars, therefore 2 Australian dollars will equal 3 New Zealand dollars. So the way we write this is y is equal to a constant k multiplied by x. Okay, and it will cross at 0, 0. So this is the formula that you need to be aware of for direct proportion. Moving over to inverse proportion, here we have two variables, and as one increases, the other decreases. So your graph in this case is going to look something like this. As something decreases, so as y decreases, we see that x increases. So that's what an inverse proportion graph will look like. And the formula that we need to be aware of for inverse proportion is y is equal to a constant over x. Here's an example of a direct proportional question. Y is directly proportional to the square root of x. So we've got to come up with our formula. It's going to look something like this. Y is equal to k, constant, and instead of x it says the square root of x. So we're just going to write square root x. Now the second piece of information tells us an x and y value, which enables us to now find the k value. So 6 equals k multiplied by the square root of 9. You know the square root of 9 is 3. So 6 divided by 3 is equal to k, so k equals 2. Okay, now that we know that, this is the meat of the question. Find y when x equals 25. So our formula is y equals, now we learned that k is 2, 2 square root x. In this case, x is 25, so y equals 2 times the square root of 25. The square root of 25 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10, so y is equal to 10. So that's a direct proportion question. Okay, now we're on to an inverse proportionality question. Y is inversely proportional to the square of x plus 1, so we're using this formula here. We write y is equal to k over, now not x, the square of x plus 1. Well, the square means x plus 1 squared. So far so good. And we know two values, so our second step is to chuck those values in. 0.875 for y equals k over 1 plus 1 all squared. 1 plus 1 all squared, that's 2 squared, which is 4, and so we just go 4 times 0.875, and we get k is equal to 3.5. Okay, now we get to the last part of the question. We're going to insert this k value. Y is equal to 3.5 over x plus 1 all squared. Find y when x is equal to 4. So y is equal to 3.5 all over 4 plus 1, which is 5 squared, over 25. And we could probably leave it there unless the question gives us any information. It doesn't say anything about how many decimal places. So maybe we'll just chuck it in the calculator, and we're going to get 7 over 50. So that is 0.14. and that will be our final answer for that. Well, I hope that gets you started. There are 2 other questions, one for direct proportion and one for indirect proportion, for you to try your hand at, and if you have any difficulty with those, of course just email me and check in with me and I'll be able to help you. Alright, hope that makes sense, guys. See you later.